Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the program on this very busy Monday after we crown a new champion in the NFL. We'll be here until 6, then we'll be joined by the fan and take you right up until 6:30 this evening. Now that we put the NFL season in the books after a exciting and a I thought dramatic Kansas City win yesterday down in Miami. I was there for the game, so I'll tell you some things about that too. Um, and I've heard some analysis today, a lot of which I did not agree with. So I'll give you what I thought because I thought a lot of people had very, very poor takes on this game. Um, it was an interesting game on a lot of levels. It really was because it wasn't as easy as this guy just played well and this guy just played badly. It wasn't as simple as all that. It was a game that had ebb and flows because you had a good start, and then for Kansas City, and then they had a chance to go up 14-3. They didn't. They went up 10-3. Then San Francisco takes over the body of the game and is able, with some peculiarities thrown in, to put 17 unanswered points up and look like they're about to win the game. And then, of course, Kansas City has a run late, putting up 21 unanswered in the fourth quarter and winning the game from 10 back, which they won all three postseason games by 10 or more coming from behind, which is a remarkable achievement. Does not happen very often in the postseason. To me, big picture, there were two reasons, two things happened that gave Kansas City a victory here. Number one, the biggest underlying thing in this game was Mahomes' maneuverability, his escapability was the biggest single factor in this game. He did not play that well. He did not throw the ball that well, but he escaped a fierce pass rush. He got away from trouble, and he got hit and sacked a lot, as we know. But it could have been dramatic how many times they put him down yesterday. They had the ability to put a guy down. They had another chance to put him down at least 5 or 6 other times where he got away and either made a big run or got away and got a throw off or slipped or pulled away and got a throw off. And his ability to get out of trouble and get away from the initial rush, which we talked about leading up to the game, they crashed the pocket. They got the pressure on. They were as good as advertised in that regard. But his ability to get out of there, to get away from trouble, and 2 or 3 times they almost had him. I mean, they had a hand on him. Boza had him a couple times. I mean, it was remarkable. 3 or 4 times I thought he was dead to right where he got out and made plays or got out and made throws. That was one of the, if not the, one of the biggest factors in the entire game. The other is just some inconsistencies and some inefficiency from every part of the San Francisco game. San Francisco broke down in the wrong spots at the wrong times. They made some bad decisions as far as the sideline goes. I'll get to those. They made some very poor reads as far as the quarterback goes. And they made a couple of bad coverage mistakes that turned out to be very, very damaging for them. So they had problems, not throughout the lineup, but they had problems and breakdowns at the worst possible times. Is this a game Kansas City, San Diego? Is this a game that San Francisco could have won? Absolutely. San Francisco was, at one point, I think one, and I'm not going to go to just the post play where they would have taken the lead because I think they could have even gotten beat if he had hit that touchdown pass. I don't think that ended the game, but he almost hit it. He just missed it. I mean, he made the right read. He made the right call. He went to the right receiver. He had him, and he knew that he was going to beat both guys before he had him beat. He laid the ball out. He just laid it out a couple of yards past him. So he almost had him to retake the lead on that deep post to Sanders. But there were some bad decisions by Garoppolo, who did not have a very good game. And some really peculiar inconsistencies from Shanahan. It's not as easy as just Shanahan. And when people stop saying Shanahan, this is the second Super Bowl he blew, if you know anything, understand that the head coach is in charge of what happens to a team, not an offensive coordinator. When do we start blaming offensive coordinators for games? So I don't blame Shanahan for what happened to the Patriots. He should have been told what to do. Just like last night, he should have been in charge of what was going to happen on both sides of the ball. And he obviously was on one side of the ball, but he was buried. He had his head buried. When they were driving for the last winning touchdown, he's already buried in his call sheet, thinking about what I'm going to do when I get the ball back. He's not even coaching the game at that point. That's in the hands of his defensive coordinator. He wasn't even paying attention. He was already giving them the touchdown. But Mahomes had a presence. On a night when he did not play well, he had a presence. And then when the game was there to be taken, he took it. Now, I heard people say that the Niners blew the game in the first half when they handled the end of the half the way they did. No, they didn't. Because they were in the fourth quarter with a 10-point lead, one play away from ending this game. So that's not true. Was it weird what they did at the end of the half? Yeah, it was extremely peculiar because it's not as simple as, oh, he didn't want to give Garoppolo a chance with the ball. Well, wait a second. He gave Garoppolo a million chances with the ball last night, so that doesn't make sense. Oh, he's worried about Mahomes scoring. Well, you just stopped Mahomes. It was very strange what he decided. He decided, you know what? I'm fine where we are. I'm fine where we are. We're going to get the ball to start the first half. I'm fine where we are right here. Because what he did that you have to remember is he allowed the Chiefs, after the Chiefs botched the third down play, he allowed the Chiefs to run the clock down from 1:48 to a minute by the time they took over with the ball. They should have called timeout right there. They would have got the ball back with 1:40 left and 2 timeouts. It made no sense that you would give up on. Now, if you get pinned on the goal line, if you're on the 1-yard line after a great punt and you would call timeout there, all right, I understand. You say, all right, I'm going to try one run. If it doesn't get anywhere, I'm just going to get out of here. I don't want to fool around in the shadow of the goalpost. I understand that. That's not what happened here. So he's looking just to get out of there. And then Andy, no one calls timeout and lets the clock run down. And then Andy says, all right, I'm going to make you punt the ball. All right, and then on third down, he throws it, gets a first down. Now he takes a shot, hits Kittle, as we know. And then there's a lot of debate. Now, I know a lot of people feel that was not offensive pass interference. At the game, I was 50-50. Julio was sitting next to me. He didn't think it was. I thought he definitely extended the arm on him. I looked at it today a couple of times. I think it was offensive pass interference. I don't think it's blatant. If he had thrown a flag, they would not have overturned it. I think it was, by the textbook nature of it, did it have to be called? It did not. But I think he did enough to where I don't think it's an outrageous call that it was called. I do not. So you get out of the first half, fine, okay? We sit through the halftime, which was not, okay, I sat through the halftime. It was lively. It was colorful. Listen, it wasn't compelling stuff, but it was okay. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I mean, I don't know what anybody thought about it, but I didn't have a problem with it. Shakira can really dance. I mean, I was not familiar. I mean, I know I've heard one of her songs in my life. Was not familiar with it that much, but she can really dance. She's attractive and she can really dance. But it was all right. It wasn't crazy. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. We get to the second half. All right. They have the game pretty much in their control. The one moment in the game where I thought, my God, Kansas City's going to lose, was when Mahomes missed Hill and the ball caromed off his arm and it was intercepted. At that point, I was like, man, maybe this just isn't the Chiefs' night. That's the only moment. Now, when they got the ball back, now here you are to the play that changes the game. I'm sure all day, everywhere, wherever you listen to your analysis of this game, I'm sure they all went to this play because if they didn't, they're not doing their job. This is the play that changes the game. We're there at the game, okay? Clearly we knew as they rushed to the line of scrimmage that Hill didn't catch the ball. That happened in the middle of the field. I was sitting on the 45, so I could see right there that the Hill didn't catch the ball. He ran the line of scrimmage. I thought they were going to get the playoff, and then all of a sudden they review it. Okay, now we know it's coming back. It comes back. I'm thinking to myself, Andy, you're down 10. What are you going to do on 4th and 15? And that's exactly when I watched the game over again today, which I did when I got home. Aikman made the same point. What are you going to do on 4th and 15? And I was thinking the same thing in the stands. I was thinking, I don't think he could go. I think he's going to have to punt. 4th and 15 is such a bad play that if he got 7 or 8 on this down, he's going to go. If he got 9 or more, he's definitely going. If it's 4th and 15, I think you got to punt it and hope that you can get the ball back, get one score, and then onside kick and get a second score. I mean, I think that's what you're thinking at the moment because 4th and 15 is such a terrible play. Now, they dial up a play, and I know it's been called a clutch play, a great play. It was a flawed play that worked. Why? They run the play that they ran last year in the title game. They had been trying to get Hill open to no avail, deep. They started to work him underneath when they realized they were going to give him as much of a cushion as they gave him. They started working him underneath repeatedly in the second quarter, but they hadn't gotten him deep. Now they get him deep. He is all alone. If Mahomes had thrown that ball on time and on a line, Hill not only would have caught it, he would have caught it in stride. He would have cut it inside to the post. He would have had open field. That's a touchdown. That is a stone touchdown. The problem is he threw that ball like a duck. That ball was in the air so long, Hill had to stand there and wait for it for like an eternity. Hill's wide open. You see the defenders now closing on Hill as this ball starts to come down, and I'm saying to myself, wow, I wonder if the ball and the defender are going to get there exactly at the same time. The ball's caught while Hill is still open. He doesn't have a chance to run, though, because they close on him as soon as he catches it. So instead of that being a touchdown, and I'm telling you, if he had hit him in stride or hit him while he was running, it would have been a touchdown. Hands down, it would have been a touchdown. Instead, they got the ball on the 20-yard line, but now they're in business. That's how open Hill was. He got the ball out there, but it was not a great throw on time, and it was a throw that was a duck. It was up there forever. So now he catches it, blah, 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 they score a touchdown. Now you get to the Niners and where they are. We know what happens there. You're going to think, all right, now the Niners, I remember turning to Julio and saying, all right, Julio, you're going to find out now how good this running game is. Okay, now you're going to find out. Because I'm guaranteeing you, no matter what look, they're running it unless they get blown up on first down. They get 5 on first down. So now I'm figuring, okay, here we go. They had averaged about 6 and change per rush. They had been efficient. They hadn't been great, and they'd used a lot of French pastry with the running game. Because what they tried to do was get to the linebackers and make the linebackers run, which they weren't great at doing. So that's what they were trying to do, and that's why they used the moves and some of the stuff they used to really to make them cover and also to make them run. And it worked pretty well. And they had been good with the running game, not overpowering, but good. And on second down, and I know some people who know what they're looking at have said, well, you know what? You got to throw against the look Kansas City gave them. Kansas City, come on now. This is a team that runs against 8-man fronts all the time. This is a team that executed against that look, that executed against complete sellout looks and ran the ball through it against the Packers. You've got to put the ball in the best possible place, and that means that second down play, 2nd and 5, has got to be a running play. You've got to stay to who you are. Instead, it's a pass play, and now it's 3rd and 5. 3rd and 5, you know you're going to throw the ball here, okay? You've thrown it on 2nd down. You're throwing it on 3rd down. What happened on 3rd down, and this one's on Garoppolo, they designed a play where, believe it or not, Kittle is wide open. I mean, he is open from here to eternity, and he doesn't throw him the ball. That's on Garoppolo. He missed that play. That play is going to bother him, I bet you, more than missing the deep post to Sanders, because you know what? That was a long throw. That can happen. The Kittle play can't happen. He misses Kittle wide open. This is 1st down plus. So now they have to punt the ball back. And now, here's what. Now, they had gotten away with playing man on Hill a lot more than I thought they could get away with. And now they finally go to Watkins. He's got Sherman, and he beats Sherman like a drum. And on this play, Mahomes makes the best throw of the night. This is letter perfect, 34 yards, dropped into his hands, and now you know the Chiefs are going to score and take the lead, which they do. Now, he got across the pylon on 3rd down. What does he do there on 4th down? Remember, it's 4th down. Maybe a yard, maybe inside of a yard. For the lead, field goal ties it. You can leave him there with 3 timeouts and a couple of minutes left in the game, and that's what they would have done. Andy would have gone on 4th down, I have no doubt. He had confidently, and this was where you got to give Andy credit, and Andy had a good game. This is where you confidently have to give Andy credit. Andy had 4th down packages ready last night at a moment's notice, and they were, whether they were direct snaps, whether the ball went to Kelsey, whether they were option plays. He had his plays that he wanted to run, and he was confident in them, and they were ready to run them, and they worked every time. So they were ready, and they would have gone on 4th down. I have no doubt. Instead, we know touchdown stands, so now they get the ball back. All right? And we know what happens. He misses them. On 3rd down, they got some pressure, not a lot during the game. They played spotty good, Kansas City. They made some good plays. I thought a couple of them had some good games. And then Garoppolo misses the play that could have made him a hero. And I'm sure he's going to look at that. The Kittle's play on 3rd down, where he had him wide open and didn't go to him. And then this play to Sanders, where when he reads that, remember, he's got 2 guys he's looking at on that play. Now, he sees it. When he sees it, give him credit on this. When he releases the ball, Sanders has not beaten those 2 defenders yet, but he realizes he's going to split them and beat them, and he did. He beat them flat. Garoppolo knew it. He knew he was going to beat them. He put the ball out, and he just put the ball out a couple of yards in front of him, and that was it. Couldn't get it to him. He tripped over his own feet at the end, but that was after the ball was already on the ground. 4th down. We know what happened on 4th down. Chiefs take over. You try and stop the run. Williams goes for a touchdown, and the rest is history. San Francisco had a couple of chances to take the lead back. Their best chance in this game was to take the ball at 20-17 and play the 4-minute game for their life. And I'm going to tell you that I would bet you money that if you had given that scenario to Shanahan all week and you had said, okay, you're winning 2010. Here come the Chiefs. You get the ball back. 5 minutes left. And you have to go to work. And this is a drive, not to score. This is a drive to win the game, where 3 first downs is going to win you the game. 3 first downs is going to win you the football game. How do you feel? And he say, with my team, give me that. That's our bread and butter. That's who we are. Give me that every single time. That's what he got. And they went 3 and out. 3 and out, punted it back. They came back. And on that last drive, Mahomes, who had played well from this standpoint, a lesser quarterback would have been sacked an historic number of times in this game. He used his legs to stay out of danger. He used his legs to turn negative into positive so many times in this game. His maneuverability was even more important than his toughness, than his smarts, or his accuracy, which was not good in this game. He threw the ball at times terribly in this game. He threw the ball on the ground. He threw the ball behind people. He threw the ball over people. He had a rough night from that standpoint. But on that last drive, let me tell you this. He was Montana magical. There was like that, I saw the glow. On that last drive, there was not a chance in the world when he got the ball at 2017 and walked to the huddle. I was completely convinced he was going to the end zone. On that drive, he was 5 for 5 for 60 yards and a touchdown. Nobody was stopping him. That was a great player who said, you know what? This is what I lived for. This is what I've dreamt about. I'm down, and I need to drive to win the Super Bowl. And I'll be damned if you even think you're going to stop me. And he went right to work, and he dropped the most perfect 34-yarder into Sammy Watkins' hands over Sherman, who he beat like a drum. And then made the plays, made the running play very deftly out of bounds to the left, and then had the play he wanted to the back, got to the pylon, and now he had the lead. There was still time left. There was plenty enough time to score. As a matter of fact, they came within an inch of scoring. They had the guy wide open. He split the post. He split 2 defenders. He ran the post. It was right there. He overthrew him. And then the Chiefs put the cherry on top, and Andy had his championship. So you look at it. We talked about it. What did it mean? You always look at coaches and quarterbacks, and what does it mean? What does it mean for Andy Reid? Everything. Now, he will be regarded as one of the great coaches in modern NFL history. He's got the coaching tree. He's got the history as a play caller. He's won 222 games in his career, and now he's won his Super Bowl. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the great coaches of the generation. And I don't know where he's going from here, whether he wins another one, he doesn't. He's going to win a lot more games. You're going to have to rip the headset off him. He'll never want to retire. He loves the sport too much. Sport's his life. He'll never want to retire. If you said to me right now he'll coach 8 more years at 60, I wouldn't doubt it. He's 61. I wouldn't be surprised he coached till he's 70. He loves coaching. And now he is an iconic coach. For Mahomes, that drive established him now as the star of stars in the NFL. Now Mahomes is numero uno. This is now his game. He's 24 years of age. He's already reached the mountaintop. He's done it individually. Now he's done it as a team leader. He's got his Super Bowl MVP. He's got his regular season MVP. He's got the records that he already holds. He is held in the highest of regards. He's a good kid. He's got it all right now. He is now and has replaced Tom Brady and Peyton Manning as the face of the NFL. Garoppolo, mixed bag. Clearly, they are not sure whether Garoppolo is their quarterback. I'm a Garoppolo guy. I have been. Am I going to tell you he played well in the playoffs? I am not. Am I going to tell you he played well last night? He did not. Was he dead awful like his counterpart on the Rams last year? No. He made some plays last night. He made some throws last night. He could have made more plays last night, but he left too much on the table. And when it was there, he missed things. He missed Kittle. He missed the big post. He missed some other guys wide open. He made some bad throws. He forced some mistakes. So he's their guy. But I'll tell you this. They're not now, despite his lofty record, they're not sure he's there. They're not completely sold on him yet. He's going to have to sell them a little bit now. As far as Shanahan, listen, this is not his second Super Bowl. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He was a coordinator. He was not the head coach. We blame head coaches for what happens in games, not the coordinators. This is his first game. Did he make mistakes? He did. Did he make some inconsistent errors of judgment? He did. Should he have stayed to the running game? Yes. But was it as automatic as everybody made it out to be? No, it wasn't. There were some pass plays that he called that made sense. The third down pass play that he called when they needed that first down, he dialed it up for him. The Kittle's play was there. It was wide open. His quarterback just didn't deliver the play. I didn't like what he did before the half. It made no sense. He was inconsistent. That's the one thing you don't want a coach to be in the big game is inconsistent. He was inconsistent. He was inconsistent in his thought process. He was inconsistent in his relationship with his quarterback. You go into a big game and a coach has either complete trust in his quarterback or he doesn't. He does not have complete trust in his quarterback yet, but he did. If you're faulting him now, you're faulting him for putting the ball in his hands, which is what he did. Garoppolo threw the ball 31 times in this game. The amazing thing in this game was they led, the Niners led by 10 points with 2 minutes left in the third quarter, so 17 minutes left in the game. In the last 17 minutes, the Niners, the ball control, big-time running Niners had the ball for 4 minutes. Kansas City ran 75 plays in this game to the Niners 54. They also ran 35 plays to their 14 down the stretch. They had the ball the whole fourth quarter. When they needed to play the game, they were born and designed and built to play. They didn't execute it. Shanahan was erratic. That was the thing you don't love. He was erratic. The Niners were not great. I told you all week I was worried about their coverages breaking down, and I thought their coverages would break down at big spots. Their coverages did break down in big spots. That's not a sin against the Chiefs, though. But I'll tell you the most frustrating part of this game from the Niner defensive standpoint is they're going to say, do you know how many times I had a hand on this guy? Do you know how many times I thought I had him and he got out of it? He pushed his way through it. He slid underneath it. He pushed this way. He went this way. He bought time and got this play. He did this. He ran. He did this. It must have happened at least a half dozen pivotal times where his escapability was and maneuverability was incredibly the difference in the game. And that's what he brought there. And then when there were when he got the ball back and he was down 20, when he was down 20-17, and he got the ball back to start that drive, he came to the line of scrimmage and he was exuding a confidence, the likes of which I've seen in the great ones. He was Montana-like when he came to the line of scrimmage on that last drive. He was in complete control, and his team knew it. He transmitted it. He transmitted it to the stadium. This is mine. This is what I waited for. This is mine now. I've had an erratic game. They've put a lot of pressure on me. We were almost knocked out. That second interception when I get down there and I got a locked field goal and I throw the ball behind Hill and it gets intercepted, almost killed us. I've thrown some bad passes in this game. I've made some mistakes in this game. But now I'm going to win this game. Because this is what I do. And that's what he did. 21 fourth quarter points, 21-0 in the fourth quarter to win your first Super Bowl. That's the stuff of legends. And he is well on his way to being a legend. Now, as you know, I've been to a gazillion Super Bowls. Here's some thoughts. I went to last year's game. I've been to 4 of the last 5. I went to last year's game. Went down, took my boys to this game. Harrison's a big Chief fan. I took Julio, was a big Niner fan, who sat next to me. He was a good sport. I knew we were going to be traveling. I had Jack with us too. We were going to travel with someone who was going to be really upset, Julio or Harrison. Harrison was under the weather, but we dragged him down there anyway. He took him to the doctor Friday to see if he could travel. The doctor said he could travel, but we kept him in bed all day Saturday, and then we got him to the game yesterday sick, but he got him there. I let the boys sit up we had 2 seats that were really close, and then Julio and I were in the loge, really good seats, but I mean, we were back about 25 rows, but they were in like the 6th row. I let the boys sit up there, so we sat in like the 25th row, which is great, a great seat. I mean, I'm not like talking about the seat, but so they got a chance to really enjoy it. But a couple things about the game. Number one, as an event, getting there, getting in the lot, getting through everything, getting through the perimeters, getting settled in, the whole thing. The event ran like clockwork. Give them credit. Give the stadium people credit. Give the event people credit. Give the NFL credit. It was really, they ran a great event, and the people in that stadium were about the nicest people I can ever remember encountering in a stadium. They went out of their way to be so friendly and nice. It was unbelievable. And no matter where you went in that stadium, and it's not a great stadium, as you know, but you know it's not anything like it being in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta is just unbelievable. But they did a nice job. They really did. And I thought from an event standpoint, handling the crowd, handling the parking, getting people in and out, and everything else, I thought the NFL did a great job. Here's the problem. There's 2 really distinct problems with the Super Bowl. One is from a watching the game standpoint, and the other one is an economic one. The first one is clearly economic. This was a very hot ticket. The ticket price got more expensive. It was a little bit of a Kansas City house. I thought it was going to be bigger, but there were a lot of Niner fans there, and there were a lot of Chief fans there. Really an enormous amount of both, and really wild. I was surrounded by Niner fans where we were sitting, and sitting next to one in Julio, but we had some raucous Niner fans, not typical Niner fans. Niner fans are usually kind of like, you know, the quiche eating, wine drinking Niner fans. These guys were like a little crazy Niner fans, but we had a bunch of them around us. You know, they were standing up the whole game going nuts. The problem with the game is twofold. Number one, and this is just a reality, but it's not a good reality, is that they've priced the average guy completely out of this game. This game is so expensive now, from the ticket price to getting to the game, to travel, to all the things you buy at the game, to anything else. It's just become that if you're a guy who wants to someday take his kid to the Super Bowl, you know what? You're going to have to take out a loan. It's just gotten crazy. The event has gotten so expensive, it has pushed the regular guy out of the mix, which is sad. Because what you want to see is, you know, what I like to see is somebody who's got their kids with them at the game. You see a guy with, you know, with a son at the game. You know, that's somebody's going to remember forever. That's when when I was traveling and we went from we were we were up in Palm Beach, and we came down for the game, which was only like an hour and change on a turnpike into the stadium. But I was saying to my boys, who now teenagers, uh, you're going to remember this. We've done this a bunch of times now. We've gone to three of the last couple. They've been to three already, and I said, you're going to remember this forever, and they will. I mean, they will. They'll take their boys there. That's how it works. But it's really has just got out absurdly expensive. The ticket prices are absurdly expensive. Everything there is absurdly expensive. So from that standpoint, it's kind of sad because it has taken the normal guy who wants to take his kid to one of these games completely out of the mix. He can't get tickets, and they're incredibly expensive too. So I feel bad for the regular guy who wants to go to this game. You're going to have to settle on going to a playoff game or something because this has just gotten crazy. Number two, if you're actually into the game and not there for the food and not there for the halftime and not there for who's sitting next to you or what celebrity you're going to see, and you're actually into the football, it's a tough game to watch from the stands. It really is because, my God, there was a point in the second quarter where there were timeouts called on simultaneous plays late in the first half. It seemed like they hadn't run a play in 20 minutes. There was like, what we were like, what are we waiting for? What are we doing? And then they got a guy in the stadium now who's like a host, which nobody wants to hear from. I mean, it's just like, you don't need that too. I mean, on top of it. And then they're showing you commercials. I know they set this thing up with the kid, which I guess was your Open at home too, which was open where the kid ran into the stadium. And I guess that was part of the Open yesterday where the kid finally put the ball on, gave the ball to the official, and he ran through everywhere and ran through all the players and through all the cities and everything, which was nicely done. And the kid runs into the stadium with all the little kids. That was a nice touch. I have to admit, I hadn't seen that. They showed that in the stadium. This is the idea of the next 100 years with all the kids. I thought that was a nice touch. Linking the game now, and the kid was a delightful little kid, and it was, that was a nice touch. I have to admit, whoever came up with that was a pretty good idea, and the idea of the next 100 years, which was all part of this game here. You had all the big stars, all the 100 years guys. I don't like what they did with the Hall of Fame, and this is not to, and I understand that this might be raining on some people's parade, but that's not the point of this. I mean, to just take a wholesale group of guys and put them in the Hall of Fame because it's 100 years of the Hall of Fame, I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't it kind of lessen what the idea of the Hall of Fame is? To just say, all right, what we're going to do now? We're going to take this whole bunch of guys and we're going to get them all in the Hall of Fame. And I understand there's some people there that I'm glad they got in. I'm glad Paul Tagliabue got in. I'm glad that George Young got in. I'm glad Jimmy Johnson got in. Okay, so from that standpoint, I'm glad Cliff Harris got in. I'm glad Harold Carmichael got in. I mean, so that's fine. But I just thought that, when you go away from the regular process, it kind of lessens the whole thing. There shouldn't be two ways to get in. There should only be one way to get in to the hall. I get in this way or I don't get in. Because it's got to be special. It's supposed to be special. So they did honor a lot of those people on the field last night, and they, and in the stands and stuff like that. So you saw a lot of people there that the faces of the league. Whether it's Jim Brown or Mike Ditka or Don Shula, who is 91 years old. You saw him there Saturday night. You saw him there. Remember in South Florida, Shulaville. I mean, that's Shula. And Shula doesn't love me. He never has, because I criticized his kid on TV once when he was a coordinator, and he never forgave me. So he's always been mad at me since then. So, and he and I had a decent relationship until I criticized his son, which, listen, I understand. He criticized, if someone criticized your son, you'd be mad too, but he's protective of his sons, and I criticized Mike over a game one time, and he got all mad at me about that. But, man, he's still, and then obviously the undefeated team always gets placed in, and they have the 72 thing there at the stadium and the whole thing, the 72 club and all that whole thing. So, so from that standpoint, it was a eventful weekend. There was a lot going on and everything else. I thought that I thought the show Saturday night, because I stayed in to watch it, because we hopped down to Florida. We got in, it rained all day Saturday, and then so I didn't really go anywhere Saturday. And then I watched that NFL show Saturday night because we were gonna have a long day Sunday, and because we came back and forth the whole day. We flew back as soon as the game ended last night, so we flew in the night so the kids could go to school today, and I watched the NFL award show, which is a terrible show, but I thought, as always, Peyton Manning, who is just so good at those kind of things, where getting in front, getting that microphone, delivering the message as succinctly and to the point about Kobe Bryant, I thought that was sensationally done, what he did that night on that. I thought, and it was nice to see Eli get a standing ovation that night too. He's earned that. So that was nice to see. I mean, the awards shows are just, I can't stand them. But, what award show is good? Even the Academy wasn't any good. So, I mean, why are you going to think that award show is any good? It's not. It's not. So, I mean, the amazing thing is when they give you those cutaways, Steve Harvey's there and he's doing these, jokes about the ethnicity and the racial makeup of the league, and he makes a joke and they give you the cutaway of the commissioner. He's like he's fake laughing. I mean, it's so nauseating to watch. And then you cut to that, you're not even laughing at home, and the guy's like doubled over in laughter. They show you the cutaway of the guy laughing his head. What a bunch of garbage. I mean, it's so nauseating, but hard to watch. It is. But there was a couple of touching moments there, But I thought the ones with Eli and Peyton were nice, and I thought Peyton did an I mean, he's just so good at that. I mean, he doesn't miss a word. Every word's perfect. Just really, he is a master at that stuff. He really is. He does an incredible. It was so well done. The thing he did on Kobe, it's amazing. What I didn't realize about Kobe, is there anybody Kobe wasn't friends with? I mean, did you know this about Kobe? I didn't. I always thought of Kobe as this hard-edged, tough guy and a little bit of an edge. Forget about what happened in Colorado. It turned out he wasn't true. But you always thought of Kobe as being a guy who had a little bit of a rough edge to him. He was a fierce competitor, not the sweetest guy in the world. Everywhere, every person was close to, I had a great relationship with Kobe, this coach, this player, this player in this sport, this player in that sport, Peyton Manning, this guy, that guy, Mike Trout, this guy, that guy. I mean, everybody had a great relationship with Kobe Bryant. It's amazing. I don't think he missed one person. I mean, he was busy. Give him credit. But, the outpouring for him has been well received, and well deserved. But it's that amazed me about him. I thought he's been, since he retired, just going about it. I know he had won an Oscar for that basketball diary thing he did, but man, every person loved him. Every person had a close relationship with him, which I wasn't aware of that. I really wasn't. All right, we got a couple more things to do, and then we'll get to the fan at 6, and we'll give you a chance today to get in and talk a little bit about the game, too. So you might have some questions or some comments to make about the game as we put the finishing touches on the season. I was overjoyed to see Andy Reid. I can't think of a more popular victory than this one in a long time in the NFL. Everybody's happy to see. I don't know if anybody wasn't happy to see Andy Reid win, except 9 people. Plus, the Hunts have run the Chiefs with class. They've done what the league needed. They've always been a exemplary franchise, starting with Lamar all the way through. So if anybody has put in their dues and deserved this, 50 years in the making, give the Chiefs credit, because they're very, obviously, the Hunt family was an incredibly wealthy family. And I'm sure, although they're not as dynamic as they were when Lamar and Nelson Bunker Hunt were around, they still are, I'm sure, exceedingly wealthy in this generation. But they handle themselves in a very classy and dignified manner all the way down the line. And it was a very, very good win for them. I think a very popular win. And it was obviously a very, very popular win to have Andy won. I give Shanahan credit because it took Andy forever to get across the field. He got mobbed by so many people to basically congratulate the other coach or be congratulated. Yeah, Shanahan had to wait there forever because it took Andy forever to get across the field. Everyone was mobbing him. So it's happy to see. It really was. And saw Andy today show up in his Hawaiian shirt. I mean, he's a character. He really is. Good for him. I'm very happy for him to finally win one. I really am. Because, you know what? I know he'd say the same thing. Hey, I'm not a better coach than I was a couple hours ago. I understand that. But this, unfortunately, we need to validate him. That's just the way it is. Back after this. I thought a couple guys stood out yesterday. Ward and Buckner and Bosa all played really well. I mean, they got 4 sacks, and they could have gotten 9 or 10. I mean, they really could have. They got pressure, and he got away so many times. I mean, he got away from Bosa. Bosa came within inches of him a couple of times. Buckner did a nice job, which they were very worried about Buckner in that matchup inside. They really were. Ward had a very good game with his tackles and his overall play. Warner too. I mean, they really played. They did some good stuff. Williams did a nice job. I mean, that last play, I'm not that worried about the last one for the touchdown, but otherwise, I thought he did a good job. The fullback, obviously, for the Niners had a busy day catching the ball as he did, scoring as he did. So, I mean, he did very well. Samuel did well. I mean, it was a quiet postseason for Kittle. He had that play, obviously, in the first half back. And on one of those huge plays, he missed them. I mean, he had him, and you were waiting for him to make that big play. Kelsey had his moments. Obviously, Hill. You know how many times he targeted Hill in this game? I mean, he targeted Hill, I believe, 16 times in the game. They looked for Hill so many times, and what they did is when they saw that they were giving Hill, they wanted to get him deep, and they couldn't. They couldn't get the ball deep like they wanted to in the first half of the game. And they just said, you know what, if you guys are going to give him that kind of cushion, we're just going to go underneath and see if he can break one. He was targeted 16 times, caught 9 passes, including that 44-yarder, which turned out to be a great one. Now, that 44-yarder, folks, was not a perfect pass. It was a pass that was up there a long time. Like, if he could have gotten that ball there quicker, he would have scored. He had to wait and wait and wait. And that thing was like, I know he's sitting there saying, oh, now I'm going to get hit. Now, instead of me just catching this ball in open space and then going where I want, I'm going to now catch it and get planted, because he just knew that was the case, because he had to wait he was wide open. And that was right in front of me. And he had to wait and wait and wait for that ball to come down. It was up there. It was like a duck. It was up there a long time. Then conversely, on the one to Watkins on the other side, man, he dropped that one in as perfectly as you possibly can. I mean, that pass play was absolutely perfect. I mean, you could not have dropped under clutch conditions, could not have dropped a better pass in, and he was just perfect on that drive. And then always very cool, calm, collected, with his legs, just doing the things that he had to do, and has incredible talent. We know that, an incredible poise for his age. That's the thing. You want quarterbacks that look like they've been there forever. Okay, you want guys who aren't going to lose their heads. Mahomes has that way about him. Where he just, and he can be a little flamboyant at times, and he can be a little, demonstrative at times, more than you would expect. But also he's got that kind of calmness and confidence that the top player has to have, where he believes completely in himself. And he said that last night. He says, yeah, I made mistakes, but you know what? I went back and the coach just told me, keep pitching. Keep pitching. You'll get him. Just keep pitching. And he said, that's what we did. We just keep coming. He says, we're going to keep coming every time until we can't. They tell us we got to go home. He says, that's it. He says, we're going to lose some. We're not going to win them all. He says, but we're going to always keep pitching until they tell us we can't keep pitching anymore. He says, that's what we do. We come out and we go back to work. He says, that's the idea. That's all we're trying to do, is go out and come back and go back to work. So it was a good game. it was a game that, I mean, I'm sitting there in the third quarter with a couple minutes left, and I'm saying, man, the Chiefs are going to score 10 points in this game? I'm like, it can't be. It can't. And they can't score 10 points. I was thinking about, I remember looking at the board and saying that. And then obviously we know where it went from there. But give him credit. Andy, and I don't want to make it that Andy's experience was a big factor. I think what happens is when you're a guy who's got as much experience and has the nature that Andy has, and I really believe this is true. For some people, the sun wouldn't have come up today if they hadn't won yesterday. It just would not. It just wouldn't have worked for them. They would have been haunted. They could not do it. I think Andy Reid, I'm not going to tell you he wouldn't have been. I would have been happy. I'm not going to tell you he wouldn't have, kicked something. But what I will tell you is that I think he would be okay. I think he would. I think Dean Smith always would be okay. I think that there's certain guys that, yeah, you know what? They're going to get beat once in a while in a big spot. They're not going to. It's not going to be the end of the world to them. They got too much going for them. And when you step back and realize the job that Andy leaves Philadelphia, and the Chiefs gobble him up before anybody else can get the phone out. Just gobble him right up. And he's been there. He's put a winning team on the field every year. He's gone to the playoffs all but 1 year. He's won double digits all but 1 year. He's never had a losing season. He's had 14 winning seasons in this league, which is, that's very hard to do. 14 different times he's won 10 or more games. That's a lot. That really is a lot. His teams win. His teams throw the ball. And now he has a Super Bowl ring to go with those 220, now 22 career wins. So congratulations to him. When we come back, we'll be joined by the Fan at 6 o'clock. And tonight, we're going to take your phone calls on the Super Bowl, too.
Mike's on. He'll get you the sports any way that he can. It's Mike Francesa on the Fan. Sports Radio 66 and 101.9 FM. WFAN.
On this Monday evening, after an interesting and dramatic Super Bowl, Mike's On is brought to you each and every evening by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos, brought to you by those who drink it. And we come to you this evening, obviously, after the Chiefs are champions, and Andy Reid and the Chiefs finally have their championship. And again, I think there hasn't been a more popular victory in years. And there's nobody, I think, more deserving of a ring than Andy Reid. He has put in a lot of work into his coaching career, and now his coaching career will be seen in the right light. It was a special career to begin with, and now, as is always going to have to be the case, it helps a lot to be recognized if you can win that championship. And now he has that Super Bowl that had eluded him for so many years, through those NFC title heartbreak years, through last year's AFC title heartbreak year, and how he handled it with grace under a lot of scrutiny, under pressure. Hey, they got rid of a top coach in Philly, and maybe not got rid of isn't fair, because he coached there a very long time. And I know the owner loved him. As a matter of fact, Andy had a big say in who wound up being the coach there. But the owner just felt that it was time for a different voice. And they were right. They were right. The move was great. It re-energized Andy. It re-energized the Eagles. They had gotten a little stale. And it wound up leading Andy to finally the promised land. It was very tough when the Eagles lost to the Pats in the Super Bowl. some of those NFC title losses for Andy Reid were very tough. And there's nothing worse than getting that reputation that you can't win the big one, that you can coach, but you can't win the big one. It's something that a Chuck Knox had to live with. It's something that a Marty Schottenheimer's had to live with. And it's not true. Those guys can coach. We know that, okay? But you have to make everybody happy, you have to get that title in the right spot at the right time. And now he has done that. So now there's no more questions about Hall of Fame. There's no more questions. I mean, now look at the record. I mean, he's the 7th winningest coach of all time. He's won 222 games if you count the playoff wins. He's won 207 regular season games. 14 times he's won 10 or more games. He's taken, 2 different teams to the Super Bowl. We're still waiting for someone to win the Super Bowl with 2 different teams. Nobody's done that. And great coaches haven't done that. Bill Parcells didn't do that. Mike Holmgren didn't do that. Don Shula didn't do that. Dick Vermeil didn't do that. The guys who had chances, none of them did. Some didn't win until their second team. Some won with their first team. So nobody has won a Super Bowl with one team and then gone to the Super Bowl with another team and won. So when you hire a Super Bowl winning coach and you give him a ton of money to rebuild your franchise, realize that nobody has been able to accomplish that feat. So you may be overpaying from that standpoint. As I said, we'll be with you until 6:30 when Steve Summers comes your way. And in this time period, we haven't taken a lot of calls, but we will tonight. We'll give you a chance to get in and give me some thoughts on the Super Bowl, what you liked, what you didn't like, what your thoughts are as we say goodbye to this season. And the Chiefs, it's funny. Things went their way. Yesterday, before I was going to the stadium, they had a feature on about how Kansas City watched the final minutes of the Dolphin game the day the Dolphins beat the Pats, which gave them a bye. And we all know that they got the big break there because the Dolphins, upset the Pats, and of course the Pats are, a bye in the home field, and the Chiefs picked it up. And then, of course, the Titans beat Baltimore, so the Chiefs don't have to go to Baltimore. I thought all year, and could have been very wrong, I thought the Chiefs were going to have to go to Baltimore the way things were shaping up. And I thought they could win there. I really did. But this was a far easier way for them to travel. And, it made it a lot easier than to take that route. And sometimes the route you don't have to take can make all the difference. But, Kansas City made it as hard on themselves as you humanly can. They got 24 points behind against Houston. They got 10 points behind against Tennessee and 10 points behind against San Francisco and came back all 3 times to win the game. And win the game by double digits, as a matter of fact. So not just win the game going away, which is what they did with their fourth quarter explosion. And think about it. They had a 51 unanswered run in one playoff game. They had a 28-point run in the other playoff game, and they had a 21-point run unanswered last night. That's a lot of explosiveness out of that, So Andy Reid becomes the first head coach to win a Super Bowl after spending 20 seasons as an NFL head coach. Not many guys are going to be around for 20 years, but remember, all he had done is won. Everywhere he went, he won. He just hadn't been able to win the Super Bowl. He hadn't been able to get to Super Bowls. He only got into 2. He lost the one he went to. But, it's tough to get to the Super Bowl. You can get to the playoffs. They've had some horrific losses, as we know, in the playoffs. Both in Kansas City and in Tampa. And it's hard. When you get there, hey, does it make it easier? Absolutely. Could Kansas City go on a run now? Who knows? I saw someone saying, I'm calling for a rematch. And I felt like saying, how long have you been around this league? Every year we're going to get a rematch. How often does that happen? You know how hard it is to get back to the same spot and have, the ball break the right way and bounce the right way where you don't get that big injury, Well, you don't lose one of your key guys for the season to a surgical procedure. It is so hard to get back to the same spot. I mean, hey, not only do we not know whether Mahomes will get there next year, we don't know if Mahomes ever get there again to win it. You just don't know. It's not that easy. Dan Marino never got back. And think about it. Peyton Manning, he had to go to Denver late to get a second one. Drew Brees only got one. Aaron Rodgers only got one. So it's not easy to get. These are not easy to get. It's not like it's all of a sudden you snap your finger, oh, we're back there. It's not like what happens with Tom Brady. That's an unusual situation. But he has gotten there, and now he has won it, and no one can take that away from him. At 24 years of age, he is the star of stars now. Mahomes is. And I think he wears that very, very gracefully. I think he handles it well. I think he's very comfortable in his own skin. I think he handles all these situations exceedingly well. I don't think there's any question about that. Now, at the first pick in the plumbing and heating supply draft, contractors select supplyhouse.com. Now, today only, thanks to the 6 touchdowns last night, supplyhouse.com is taking 6% off your entire order. Take it to the house, supplyhouse.com. Okay? So, the first pick saw you do that. So, think about it. Now, 6% off. So, check it out. Go to supplyhouse.com right now. When we come back, we will get some calls in. Haven't done that very often, but we will do that and get some thoughts from you guys on the Super Bowl. Now everybody starts from scratch. It's going to be a very interesting free agency period, especially with these quarterbacks, because think about it. You don't know right now where Tom Brady's going. You don't know right now where Drew Brees is going to do. You don't know right now where Rivers is going to go. You don't know right now who's going to quarterback about 7 or 8 different teams. So it's going to be interesting. It really is, especially with some of those veteran guys that, could shake things up in a bunch of different places, led, of course, by the one and only Tom Brady. All right, get some calls in. We start with Joe in Oyster Bay. Go ahead, Joe. What's up?
Hey, Mike. I watched him last night. The first name that came to mind when I was watching Andy Reid was Dick Vermeil. He was another guy that had a lot of trouble closing out a championship, and he got one much later in his career. That was kind of the first guy I thought.
Well, I mean, he took 15 years off. I mean, he lost with the Eagles in the Super Bowl to the Raiders, and then he left coaching. So he was burnt out. So then he came back and he won after an amazing time off. He went and he was an announcer, did college football for about 15 years. Then he came back as a head coach again. So he wasn't coaching all those years, but it was a lot of time in between. You're right.
Right. Yeah, that was the first guy that I thought of, and it was nice to see. As a Giants fan, it was nice.
Well, this is a guy who's won, and thanks for the call. This is a guy who's won a lot. I mean, this is a guy who has been there. He's been a consistent winner. I mean, he's had 14 teams that have won 10 or more games. He's won 207 games in the regular season. Winning 200 games in the NFL is very hard. He was the highest in terms of total wins. He was the highest ranked guy who had never won a title in terms of wins. Every other guy who was ahead of him in wins had won a title, either an NFL title or a Super Bowl title. If it was pre-Super Bowl era, then he won an NFL title. So everyone had won a title except him. And that's why he needed a title, and he finally got one. Sonny and Malvern, what's up, Sonny?
Hey, Mike, really head-scratching game by the 49ers coach. Listen, in critical situations where you have to run, and by the way, that's what the 49ers are, a running team. Last 4 possessions of the game specifically, he passes right before the half, the obvious one where every NFL team and coach would have gone for it with a minute and 40-something left, and they let the clock run down to 59
But he
seconds.
got away with it. But, Sonny, he overcame that. He had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter.
It doesn't make it right,
No,
though.
but he still had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. That didn't cost. It was weird, but it didn't cost him. I mean, he still had enough chances to win the game. The play that I would really give him a problem with was the second down. After he got 5 on first down, I would have run into the look on second down. On third down, he ran up a play where he had Kittles wide open.
That was the play.
Wide open,
that was the
and
play.
Garoppolo went elsewhere with the ball, which he's going to have to explain forever. Here's your all-world tight end who is open. He is wide open, and you don't throw him the ball. So
Yeah, Mike,
that's going to be one he's going to have a hard time living down.
It was funny, Mike. The only question that I had going to this game was if Jimmy G could, win the game with 2 minutes left, and he proved that he couldn't. And all those people that criticize Eli, they just saw how tough it is to win a Super Bowl with 2 minutes left in the game.
It's very hard to win a Super Bowl. I mean, listen, Jimmy G may never win a Super Bowl. People who discredit Eli are fools. Winning 2 Super Bowls like he did in the fourth quarter has been done so few times, and to do it against the Patriots from behind shows that you're special. I mean, that's all there is to it. Thanks for the call. Mike in Philly, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Mike, good to talk to you again,
Yeah,
buddy.
what's up?
So, let me tell you, in Philadelphia, they were super ecstatic about Andy finally getting one. It's a great day for Andy. I was down there in Jacksonville, and unfortunately didn't get it 15 years ago. But I'll tell you what, that team played really hard. It'll be interesting to see what Kelsey does in his speech, how he tries to match his brother.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, Mike. I mean, listen. You worry about that. I'll worry about him winning. I'm not worried about Kelsey's speech, but thanks, Bob in Monticello. What's up, Bob?
Hey, Mike. Happy for Spags. That was great.
Yeah, you know what? Spags when his defense had to respond. It didn't do great, but it did okay. It did enough that Spags had a good night. He did, and he drew up a couple of things on those last drives where he got him out of the running game, which we talked about all week. He had to get him out of the running game, and the look he gave them on second down and 5 yards with 5 minutes left got him out of the running game and made him throw the ball there, and that's what they wanted to do. So Spags had a successful night. Absolutely right.
And it reminded me of fourth quarter gut checks. He held them close enough, and then the team showed up for him. And as a Giants fan, it just gave me a few good memories of, I actually thought the Chiefs were going to lose simply because of the Niners D-line. But I was surprised, like you, Mahomes managed to get out of 5 or 6 hits that I thought were sacks. To me, was the game.
To me, going in, I thought and I mentioned that last week, and thanks for the call, Bob, that I thought that he would negate the pass rush. I've watched him enough, and I said that I thought he would buy time enough to frustrate the pass rush. Now, they did sack him 4 times, but they could have sacked him 9 or 10 times. That's how much pressure they got on him. They won the matchups. They won the matchups inside. They won the matchups outside. They got initial pressure. They collapsed the pocket. He got out of there, made plays on the run. He got out of there, made throws. But he didn't have a great game. He missed a lot of throws for him. He's usually a much better thrower than that. And he missed some pretty easy throws for him. And even the throw, I've heard some people call the throw to Hill a classic throw. The throw to Hill was not a classic throw. He made Hill wait for that ball for seconds. If he didn't make Hill wait, that was a touchdown. But Hill had to wait for the ball to come down. And when it did, he caught it and he got tackled. If he had hit him in stride, that ball would have been a touchdown. He was so wide open, it was ridiculous. But then on the other side, on the last drive, he was vintage Mahomes. 5 for 5, 60 yards, touchdown. And the pass to Watkins over Sherman is letter perfection. Absolute. You couldn't throw. That's a 34-yard pass. Dropped it in his pocket. You could not throw. Okay? And I tell you, the guys who keep getting on Shanahan about the Falcon game are out of their minds. He was not the head coach. Let it go. I understand that his team has blown the 2 biggest leads ever. First of all, 10 points is not a big lead to the Chiefs. Secondly, the other game was a disgrace, but that was on the head coach, not on Shanahan. Shanahan, if he wanted to rip the doors off, should have been told what to do. He should have been told to run it, not asked to run it. He should have been told to run it. That's your job as a head coach. Don't worry about what your coordinator wants to do. Tell him what to do. Some coordinators, if you let them, they would throw every down their whole lives if you let them. As a head coach, you got to tell him to run it. John in Cresskill, what's up, John?
Hey, Mike, nice to talk to you.
My pleasure. What's happening?
Listen, last night you got to give Spagnuolo all the credit. 6 minutes left, 2nd and 5, you put 8 in the box. make Shanahan throw the ball, dares the 49ers to put the ball in the air, and they can't do it. Mahomes gets the ball, and that kid is wonderful.
See, but it's not as simple as that, though, John. For this reason, they see 8 in the box all the time. They saw 8 in the box against Green Bay and ran it down their throat. They run against 8 in the box more than any team in the world. They saw 8 in the box 30% of the time this year. They ran against 8 in the box. That's their mentality. They should have run that ball on second down. That was the play. That was a bad decision. They can run against those looks. They know how to run against those looks. When they got 5, he had to want to take another minute off and give his offensive line a chance to make the play there. They were getting 6.5 a carry. You got to let them run the ball. Third down, I don't have a problem with, and he dialed up a play that was a winning play. The tight end is wide open on third down. That's all you can ask for. But on second down, they run against those looks all the time. 8-man does not scare them. And you know what? Spags did what he was supposed to do. He changed things up. He changed up his line looks. He changed up his people. He did a very good job. I'm not taking anything away from Spags. But you can't – one of the big things about them was that you couldn't scare them into certain things. They didn't back off because you put 8 in the box. That didn't shake them up. And here, they run away from it. And they shouldn't have on second down, because if they get a first down there, I'm telling you, their chance, and thanks for the call, their chance on that play, if they get a first down there, right there, their chance of winning the game goes up about 30 or 40% just on that one play. Because now they've dialed up a first down. Now you're inside 5 and ticking. Now Andy's got to use his timeouts. Now you're also not going to get the ball back on a 35-yard line. And special teams was sneaky good for Kansas City last night. They got a little better, and they did a little better in terms of return game was good for both teams. I mean, the return coverage was good for both teams. And Kansas City got a little better with return coverage each play. Ira in Staten Island. What's up, Ira?
Hey, Mike, what's happening?
What's up?
Congratulations, Andy Reid. Well-deserved. Happy for the Chief fans. I'm sure your son must have been thrilled.
He was happy.
And you know what? You're right, that second down play, I mean, that was big. And you know what? The bottom line, you look at this game, both coaches had their ups. They both had their downs. But it came down to 2 plays. Mahomes made the throw to Watkins, and Garoppolo missed the third down to the tight end and missed the third down to Sanders. And that was the difference of the game.
The third down to the tight end was a killer. The throw to Sanders is a hard throw to make. I mean, that's a rough.
The guy's open.
He is open, but that's a rough. He wasn't open when he threw it. He was open, and he knew he was going to beat the 2 guys, and that's a tough throw. The throw to Hill, he better make, because I'm telling you, Hill was open from here to Canarsie. That's how open he was. And, you know, he actually made Hill wait. I'm telling you, that throw was not a great throw. It was up there forever. If he had hit him on a line with that throw, Hill would have scored. Hill would have cut it in. He would have run it across the field on a diagonal and gone right in the end zone. And instead, you were hoping he was almost fair catching the ball there on the 20-yard line.
Yeah, he looked like a punt returner.
Yeah, and he was going to get, but he did. But he did deliver the ball, which is your job. You're right. But he didn't.
He was Mahomes.
No, on that last drive.
He was Mahomes.
On the last
He
drive.
was amazing.
On the last drive, he was. And thanks for the call. On the last drive, he was Montana. He was Unitas. He was all the guys. He was all of them rolled into one. He was as good as it gets on that last drive. On the last drive, when he came out, he had the aura. I'm telling you, even Julio turned to me, and I said, Julio, this is going to be a tough one. He goes, they're scoring. He turned right to me and said, they're scoring. And they never missed a beat on that last drive. It was like, I swear, everybody in the building knew they were scoring. Shanahan knew they were scoring. He was already nose deep into the plays before they had even scored. He was already working on his play sheet. You could see him. He was working on the sheet. He wasn't even watching. And the amazing thing was, during the review, I'm like, do we realize we're going to watch a play here maybe on 4th down where it's 4th down for the lead in the Super Bowl on the goal line? I mean, this is as big as it gets. And you knew he was going to go because he had 3 timeouts. There's still time on the clock. You got to leave him there. You only need a field goal to tie. You got to go for it. He's been confident on 4th down. I'm sure he would have gone back to some of his option series and some of the stuff he was running that night that was working. But I thought he got across before he got his foot out of bounds. I thought he did. It looked like he did, and the rest is history. But you're right. Hey, it came down to some plays Mahomes made and some plays that Garoppolo didn't make. But Shanahan also messed up some stuff in the game. Andy Reid didn't mess up anything in this game. He was on point all night. Shanahan was not on point all night. He messed some stuff up in the 4th quarter. He messed some stuff up before the half. So he was not on point all night. And Garoppolo, and although Mahomes had a shaky game for him, by any Mahomes standard, this was not a vintage Mahomes game. He, with his maneuverability, his escapability, and then he morphed into the great quarterback on that last drive, and he said, you know what? Get out of my way. We're going home. And he was letter perfect. 5 for 5, 60 yards, dropped the 34-yarder in Watkins' lap, and the rest is history. I mean, great drive. Absolutely letter perfect drive to take the 24-20 lead. Wonderful game, and I was thrilled to see Andy win. I really was. I pulled from all year, picked them to win it before the season started, and I admit that I thought they were good, but I also was really rooting for him to do it too. And he did. So I'm very happy that it happened. Now it's on to the next season. And for you guys, it's on to Steve Summers. And remember, our program each and every night is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos, brought to you by those who drink it. Each and every night, they bring you the program. We'll see you tomorrow. Steve Summers is next.